position draw for journalism to go into the Preakness, and he's kind of the big name that this race did need, Andy. A horse that ran very well in the Kentucky Derby and was, I think, a kind of very strong Derby favorite going into the race.
He is, and he didn't run badly in the Derby. He just lost a horse that ran a little bit better than him and was the last mover, but he's got enough speed to put himself in the game. There are figures to be pacing here, and I don't have any problem with coming back in 2 weeks. In fact, I think that one of his bill threats in here could be American Promise, who also ran the Derby. But to me, I think trying to beat him maybe just be a fool's errand.
I'm with you on this one. I tried to beat him with Sovereignty in the Derby, but I think that he is very much the horse to beat coming into the Preakness.
Greg, are you going to have the Tri-Cold again? Because
I know.
mean, the pressure's on, you know. Occasionally make the winner, but you had the Tri-Cold. So
I had the exact.
She had the exact,
yeah,
Andy,
but he had the Tri. If you screwed up the Preakness, it's all over. It's all forgotten.
No, I think it's going to go down in the history books, I feel
Really?
like.
I don't know. I'm going to forget it.
All
I'm going to forget
summer
it.
long and over the years, I'm going to keep reminding you.
I'm very proud of you. I was very happy you did. That was great. Both of you. You did a great job. You're not the only ones here.
Well, it'd be great to
did.
see journalism step up, or whoever it is, but have someone have a big performance and then get that meeting for the third and final leg of the Triple Crown, where we're going to see Sovereignty line up again. I get some other big names. Baez is going to show up there as well. Favorites in the Preakness, not a lot of success.
Well, I mean, Epicenter ran extremely well, and, you know, Mage was compromised by a lack of pace. I thought Mystic Dan ran a very good race when he finished second. Authentic ran the filly, who just freaked out in there. But, you know, some of these horses ran fine, and you go back, you look at Funny Side, you look at a Fleet Alex, you look at Smarty Jones. They ran some of the best race they ever ran in the Preakness.
Yeah, and that was, of course, Authentic in that October Preakness that year behind Swiss Skydiver. But I think with the exception of Epicenter on that list, they were all Kentucky Derby winners as well. It's a little bit different, I think, this year with the Kentucky Derby winner and Sovereignty not going into the Preakness. So journalism will be the favorite, much like an Epicenter going into his Preakness that year. But to Andy's point, even though there's not a ton of wins except for the Triple Crown winners, a lot of them have run well.
Yeah, and going back, they've run well. And some of them, listen, Mage was the horse who took advantage of a fast pace. He didn't get that pace in the Preakness, and he still ran a respectable third. It's not as though he ran a bad race. Epicenter lost early voting, had a pace advantage, and ran a really good race. These horses didn't run badly, and sometimes you see them losing, and you can run badly in defeat, you can run well in defeat. I think they all ran well in defeat.
Think a chance we could see journalism be odds on in that race?
No,
not that
because
short.
I think that the way these races are bet, they overbet the long shot, so you probably won't see the short price that you should see. But Greg, I think he should be odds on.
Yeah. Here's how you can play it. The races we're showing you today as well, and everything in between and beyond at NYRABets.com. Get signed up, started. Match 200, code to use for new members at sign up, and get that $200 deposit match new customer bonus. Race 7 here at Belmont of the Big A. New York bred entry-level allowance, 1 turn mile. We're both Grace Reform, Pretty Magical. They look like they could be awfully tough here.
Yeah, I mean, they are the two choices here, and it's been a day that's been dominated by horses that had forward position, but also relatively short prices.
Let's welcome in, for the first time here on our coverage, Maggie Wolfedale as we head downstairs. Hi, Maggie.
Hey guys, good to hear you all upstairs. As holding it down here in the Aqueduct paddock, we'll take a look here at the horse who is going to try to take on winners for the first time for the Chad Brown Barn. That is number 5, Into Stardom, a daughter of Into Mischief. Now, she's actually out of one of my favorite mares too, Highway Star. She was an overachieving New York bred that was fairly dominant in those kind of 6 furlong out to a mile types of races. Now, looking at Into Stardom, this weirdly is the first time I'm seeing her in the paddock, she's a bit on the smaller side. She's short coupled, very stout, but incredibly well turned out. She's also fairly aggressive in her demeanor. Now, there are 2 other horses that do have some early pace, including Chasing Daylight and one of the favorites, Pretty Magical. So we'll see where she finds herself early, but she is giving me the indication that she should be forward in here, which isn't a bad thing. I just don't know if I love her necessarily at the mile. We'll see how far the track can carry her today. As number 7, Pretty Magical, we'll see how aggressive they are with her, but she looks sensational here. And between the 2 favorites, including Grace Reformed in here, physically, I much prefer Pretty Magical. She's really well muscled. She's the one that, as they walked in, really kind of caught my eye here in the paddock. She's marching around the paddock, very fluid. Sometimes she gets a little girthy when they first tack her up. That wasn't necessarily the case today. So she's giving me every indication, Greg, that she is going to bring her A effort.
All right, Maggie, thank you. We'll get back to this race post-parade when we come back. One-turn mile for these New York breds. And this first allowance condition ahead in the Thursday feature from Belmont at the Big A. Stay with us. Back with you on our Thursday coverage. I always think of the call to post when I see the New York skyline.
So do I. Every
program
ever.
Brought to you by Naira Bets. We can play
Daily.
all the action.
Constantly.
And our post parade for this 7th. Let's get into it here. Again, New York bred first level allowance race. And here's duck fat.
1 for 34 lifetime with absolutely no speed. Might not be a great recipe on this racetrack, but I happen to have a thing for this horse. I don't think she's going to win today, but I always kind of liked her.
Third off a short layoff here, Grace Reformed.
Yeah, coming back after just running on March 23rd, a horse that was in very good form at Parks and was able to bring that back into New York bred company pretty well.
Should see speed out of Chasing Daylight.
On a track which speed has been good today, that's not a bad commodity to have.
Amy's Light, 12-1.
Got a big win last time out, though, sprinting. She'll stretch out in distance, and that was for a condition-claiming race as well.
Start number 2, maiden claiming victory for Chad Brown's Into Stardom.
If this horse wasn't trained by Chad Brown, she'd be 10-1 in this race. I guess she could improve, but man, she better.
Here's Like a Rolling Stone, Flavian Pratt rides.
Last out winner for $25,000, stepping back into New York bred allowance company today, but was pretty dominant last time out.
And the favorite, another one who'd like to be forward, Pretty Magical.
Should be stalking the 3 Chasing Daylight, and she's in very good form.
5 minutes away from this Thursday feature. New York breds start with an advantage. Residency rules now easier. $50,000 plus in full auction mares now qualify. Take advantage and see what everyone's talking about. What we always say, it pays to have a New York bred. NYRA.com/NYBreds for all the latest information.
You have the New York Breeders' Awards coming up on Monday as well, where we celebrate the New York breds.
I just don't
Richie,
like the I don't like the
Migliore
MC.
hosting.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He hogs the microphone.
I'm sure he does.
Here's our favorite. So 2-1. Pretty magical. Gets that outside post for trainer Mark Hennig.
She's in good form. I mean, she lost to Valentina, who really ran well last time, a horse who had shown promise early in her career for Ray Handel to kind of put it together in this race. But I thought her win two back, she took advantage of the racetrack. But I thought in this race, she proved that the effort was legit.
I think that's a really good point, that she was able to back it up. And she seems to have just turned a corner since they added the blinkers as well. And she showed a lot more speed, which I think is a benefit. She was forwardly placed last time out. Valtellina, the winner, was just on her hip and had a little bit more finish that day. But I think a horse that's been pretty strong. And, sometimes when they do kind of have that big figure that stands out when breaking their maiden, I think it's encouraging that she was able to come back and run another strong figure.
Valtellina, who beat her, maybe better than what most have been facing in here?
Well, she had started her career out, Valtellina, as a 2-year-old, running some good race against New York bred. She kind of tailed off, but she showed up in that race and backed up her early form in there and ran a fast race. She's fine. It's interesting looking at her pedigree and looking into stardom, right? She's a stolen star, into stardom's a highway star, and it's the same, it's that Broman, those Broman pedigrees, which are so important and influential in the New York bred program.
Meanwhile, Grace reformed. Juan Carlos Guerrero, Christopher Elliott will be aboard. And again, third start off a short rest after back-to-back runner-up finishes.
And she's not a speed, but she's not a closer. She should be relatively forward here, especially with Christopher Elliott. And she's just really turned her career around since getting into Juan Carlos Guerrero's barn and has run 2 straight races that make her a big player in this race.
And you could see Christopher Elliott really urging her to be part of the early fray last time out. I don't think he's going to have her too far off of it again.
Let's head down to Maggie.
And look, she's a filly that has won 5 of her 18 starts. And as Andy pointed out, more recently for Current Connection, so she knows how to get the job done. She's just physically not my type of horse in that, and I typically love the work that Juan Carlos Guerrero does, but she just always comes in, she's washed out, she gets a bit hot, she's not the biggest in stature, there's not much of her, and I get it, she's in good form, but is it reflected in the way that she looks? Not necessarily. And so for me, between the two favorites, I wanted the one that was going to be a bit more forward, at least based upon their PPs, and two that just looks a bit better, and that's pretty magical. But the horse taking a step up in class after a massive upset last time out is number 6, Like a Rolling Stone. She got the win at 43-1 first time out for the Antonio Arriaga barn. And physically, now, while that I'm not that familiar with her on many occasions because she has spent the majority of her career up at the Finger Lakes, her coat looks so much better than what it ever had. She's moving incredibly well over this surface here, in which we are still sealed, at least as of now, with the sun trying to peek through. Feels lovely, a lot warmer too. But maybe a filly that is heading in the right direction and turning a corner now as a 4-year-old. So we'll see. Can she get lucky again? You're taking a fraction of the price, though, this time, Greg, especially with Flavien Prat aboard.
So a minute to post coming up, and the favorite remains here pretty magical on the outside of the Grace Reform, taking the money right into that as well. It's going to be very close here at post time.
Yeah, I mean, they have the consistent form that makes them the 2 horse to beat off the recent races. But like a Rolling Stone, and Maggie's obviously right, you missed the wedding at 43-1 last time. But she ran well enough that she can contend in here, and she's the one horse that I'm a little bit afraid of against the favorites. I didn't particularly like anybody else in here.
No, I think that's fair. I think in large part just because she ran so well last time out and she was pretty dominant. Not the smoothest moving type and was kind of swapping leads in the stretch a bit, but there was no doubt about it that she was going to be able to run down. She did not look like a 43-1 shot when winning that day.
No, she really ran extremely well. It was just a very tough horse to make. Claimed out of a $10,000 claiming race from Jamie Ness. Not a horse you expect to move up, thus the 43-1, but she ran that race. Now, whether or not she can run back to it's another story. Listen, I'm not going to be shocked, I guess, if Into Stardom wins, but this horse should not be 4-1 in this race, and it is completely because of the man who trains it. I know that he wins a lot of races, but I imagine even Chad's looking at it and saying, I probably wouldn't bet her here.
That's Chad Brown, the trainer of the 5. Yeah, Into Stardom, reigning Eclipse Award-winning trainer. And the races, the 2 races, even the win, Acacia, last time out from the 5 on your screen.
Yep.
Just much slower than what the top 2 can produce in here.
And they have been.
Some may look and see, well, she won on a muddy sealed track last time. Well, she won at 4-5 by a neck with a slow figure.
Yeah, she did. And she's a very just small filly as well. There's just not much of her. And she was forwardly placed that day, and she did dig in down to the wire, but she had to really fight to get the win at a short price that day. And now she's stepping up to face winners for the first time. I know she's kind of the unexposed, you could say, the lightly raced one of this group, where you have several that have had a lot of chances. But, Andy, sometimes it really is a big jump when facing winners for the first time.
Yeah, and it's one thing to take a shot that she improves at 12-1. It's another thing to do it at 4-1. She's got $1 million pedigree and Into Mischief from a very good broodmare and Highway Star.
Highway Star
but
millionaire,
so far, she hasn't
multiple graded
run to
stakes winner.
Yeah, she's got a giant pedigree.
You know, we talked about the improvement last time out with a 6. Amy's Light to 4, 24-1. Just ran the biggest figure of her career. She ran a 71 buyer last time out. Now, granted, it was sprinting.
And it was a much weaker. Relative to the 5, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not like her prior races are that bad. I didn't like her, but yeah, she shouldn't be 25-1.
Second place finisher came back to win with a 78 buyer speed figure in her next start.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that you're right. That's a good point, Greg. She's the same price as the 1, and she's a far more likely winner in the 1, and she's also not pace compromised like the 1.
Pretty Magical favorite, although it's close with the 2 Grace Reforms. And we'll step in with Javier Castellano, 7th feature on this Thursday card from Belmont at the Big A. Let's go to Chris Griffin.
In. All set. And they're off. Good break there for Amy's Light in between horses. Chasing Daylight flashes early speed, and now Into Stardom emerges with the front, and Pretty Magical is going to go right with that pace setter. They're lined up 4 across the racetrack in the early stages. Here comes Chasing Daylight, and Romero Mirage is intent on getting to the front and now puts a neck in front of Into Stardom, who's back to second. 3 wide will be Pretty Magical as they work up the backstretch. Tucked in 4th is going to be Amy's Light. They're 6 lengths in front of Like a Rolling Stone, Grace Reformed, and the trailer Duck Fat, 22.45 for the opening quarter mile. The leader is Chasing Daylight. Quick move there from Amy's Light. And Amy's Light progresses past Into Stardom, who's back to 4th, while Pretty Magical has found a nice journey, is stalking the pace setter as they move into the far turn, 45.20 for a half-mile time. The leader is Chasing Daylight. Here comes Pretty Magical, is in pursuit towards the outside, and now puts a nose in front. Pretty Magical is the leader. Amy's Light is in behind Chasing Daylight. Scrubbed along here is Into Stardom while wide. As they're approaching a quarter mile left to go, the leader is Pretty Magical, trying to put rivals away. Amy's Light, the long shot, has gone to the 3-path here, is in pursuit, and here comes Amy's Light to the outside of Pretty Magical, who's trying to close the deal. Pretty Magical, but Amy's Light is catching with every single stride, and Like a Rolling Stone has got a rally from the back. Duck Fat starts to rally on Grace Reform. Can Pretty Magical hold off Amy's Light, who's still in pursuit inside the final 16th? Pretty Magical to the inside, Amy's Light to the outside. Pretty Magical did it. Pretty Magical over Amy's Light, then Like a Rolling Stone and Duck Fat in 1 minute 37 seconds flat.
Pretty Magical tested by the biggest price, well, second biggest price on the board, and able to hold that one off in the end.
Great call by you with the 4 being a horse in the chance there, because she almost won this race. I'll tell you something, Pretty Magical ran very well in victory. I mean, they were flying up front.
Yeah, she made the first move into that fast pace, and it looked like at one point she was going to be swallowed up by Amy's Light, but dug back in, and you can even see the size discrepancy in the stretch as well. But Pretty Magical, and I always give a lot of credit to horses that make that early move and then have to sustain it, which she did. A game effort from a filly that's really turned the corner in her last couple of starts for Mark Hennig.
I agree. Mark's been a good run. He had a couple winners one day last week. Javier just won 2 races in a row, and I know she was favored, and I understand those things, but she ran extremely well. This was a well-earned victory by her.
7, 4, 6, 1. 21 to one shot, 25 to one shot. Complete the top 4 in here. And there's Mark Hennig.
I could tell him by the back of his head.
2 wins now and a runner-up the last 3 starts. So he certainly has this filly going in the right direction, as Akecha had pointed out. Those blinkers seemed like they have made a big difference in how she's been doing. Let's go out to Horseshoe Indie, getting set for race 5. Post time coming up. State Bred Company, maiden special weight, 6 furlong sprint here in this 5th race.
I think there's some reasonable prices in here. I think the 5 is overbet at 7 to 5.
Take a look at the field. Here's Oh So Fancy. Blinkers on.
She feels like she's really got to run better, but she can be forward.
Here's July 4, 31 to 1.
Didn't do much running last time out in a race with several others in here. Kind of finished in place.
Be on the Loose has hit the board at the level last couple tries.
She's just too slow to compete here.
Micklin, 11 to 1.
I thought she actually ran well first time out. Not the smoothest trip. She was a big price. She showed some early speed from an outside post.
Why can't she improve coming at her first start of a 6-month layoff?
Here's the favorite, the speedy Jordan's Deal.
She's fine, but I don't know that she's necessarily has to win this race. I don't think she's that much better than the 4 or the 7. She is speedy, though.
Cut back in distance for the 6.
Yeah, for Katrina Partner, did sprint 2 starts back and ran fine. Not as fast as some of the others in here.
Bits of Candy second in the debut.
Right. She broke about 3/4 slow. She didn't get shuffled out, as the chart says, at the 3 ace, but I thought she ran very well in there when she got to the inside.
Another one who was a runner-up first time out, the 8.
Ran on well from an outside post while the winner came up the rail.
Temple Painter, 5 to 2.
She's got the best buyer figure of anybody in this race, and she should be forward.
Pay Me Later debuts, the 12 who went by.
Yeah, first time starter by Painter, not taking much money.
And Quibble also eligible, draws in.
Yeah, I mean, she ran well enough last time. She should be considered. She broke a little slow and was kind of steadied out after being bumped. Got a good trip thereafter, but if the race falls apart, this one's not impossible. I think there's some options here. I think the 4 and 7, they're my 2 horses I want to use. I thought both of them could improve off the layoff.
First of 2 races we have for you this afternoon from Horseshoe Indy. Let's bring in Rachel McLaughlin. And Rachel, we've had a changing surface this afternoon out in Shelbyville.
Yeah, you know, you guys, we just got a deluge of rain in the Tuesday night all the way into the early morning of Wednesday. Definitely went into when we were about to start racing Wednesday. So we scratched it off the turf then. We've scratched it off the turf today. But with this warm sun and all this wind, it'll be a shock if I don't get blown away. We've definitely got a drying out surface and we're fast today. This 5th race, though, I heard you guys and I'm totally in agreement. I think that the 5 is getting overbet, but I do think it is the one to beat if you can say that in a race like this. I do think a lot of these horses do have good chances off of 2nd, 3rd place finishes last out. But I did get to talk to Mitchell Merle, and he said that she is a super fast filly. Works her in the morning, and he says you really have to have your wits about her when you're on her. So a little cantankerous, I guess you would say. And then my long shot is the 13. I did get to talk to Mike Lauer, and he said, you know, that was a nice 3rd last time. Hopefully she's improving, and she'll be competitive here if she is. If she doesn't, then he made a noise like yeesh. So let's hope that she is. That's my long shot, the 13. I like it at a price.
Rachel, thank you. So at Quibble, 10 to 1 here. Long shot play, also eligible the draws in.
As a professional quibbler, I think that should be my hunch play.
It's a good
I
name.
can quibble with the best of them,
Could
Greg.
have been named after you. Back here in New York, and it's pretty magical with the win, holding off a stubborn Amy's Light.
Big effort from this filly, made that first move into the pace, and she was able to dig in late. She's been in very good form recently.
I don't know how Greg Wolf didn't crush this exactly.
I know.
You like the winner, and you had the right long shot.
Greg's been on fire. Since he picked the try in the Derby. That was the moment everything
Confidence
changed.
breaker. I feel like I shattered through that window.
That's right.
Can you keep it going through Saratoga? The ultimate acid test.
And it's a long Saratoga this year.
We will
Graveyard
find
of
out.
bad handicappers.
That last week, the Belmont and Saratoga week was phenomenal for me last year, and then all summer long was an entire drought. Back to the
Happens
5th.
to all of us.
Horseshoe Indy, Jordan's Deal the 5, the favorite. Let's go to John Dooley.
Alberto Burgos, Temple Painter. Now Jordan's deal. Mitchell Murrell has a win on the card. A couple of back, Fernando de la Cruz with Pay Me Later. At 6 furlongs, one more. Oscar Villarreal with Quibble. The daughter of dialed in. They're in the gate. Oh, so Fancy getting fractious in the starting gate. She was first loaded. A delay here.
Yeah, sounds like it was the one Oh So Fancy that was thrashing around on the gate a little bit.
It's usually the longest shot of the board, isn't it? You ever notice that?
Often does seem to be the case. It was hard to tell what was going on, but it seemed one that was acting up. And if there's an issue, Greg, then they'll have to back the others out. It looks right now like all of the other horses are still standing in the gate.
Yeah, we can't tell you much.
Absolutely
from this
no
angle.
idea what's going on.
We
Oh, no,
see
they're
as much
backing
as
them
you
out. They're
do.
backing them out. Yeah, they're backing them out.
Okay. So they're going to back them out. And Oh So Fancy, who was the initial cause of this, was, you could hear it, and I'm not sure you could see it, but was, yeah, thrashing around in the gate, uncomfortable. Been told will be a scratch here. So
Now-
a delay. And I guess in terms of this delay, they only have to take that one off the board. They aren't going to have to move anything, really.
Yeah, I think just in the protocol, and I'm not as familiar with Horseshoe Indie, I've never been there to the track, but typically what will take place in this instance is, yes, they will have to move the numbers. I don't know if they move everybody over or they just take the one off and leave that stall empty to the inside. But they will have to have a delay in order to get the number one Oh So Fancy off of the track. And it looks like the starting gate itself is now moving.
I did not get a very good look at that. She may have been cast in that stall.
Yeah.
Quick look at the odds for the Preakness coming up on Saturday. This middle jewel of the Triple Crown. Journalism, favorite runner-up in the Kentucky Derby, 8-5 morning line. And yet any of the last 3 races, someone's really going to have to take a step forward, which they could. But the last 3 races from Journalism are really standouts against this group.
Yeah, he's just way the horse to beat in this race. You want to try to manufacture opinion against him, that's fine. But to deny that he's no 8-5 shot. If this was a race being run on a Thursday at Aqueduct, he could be 3-5 in this race.
Absolutely. Look, I think that in these races, it's always tempting to look for an alternative and see if you can find some price in here. And of course, there is good conversation and what is an upset chance. But to me, the more that I looked at this race, the more I could not get by him. As we talked about it, he was a strong favorite going into the Kentucky Derby. We've seen horses come back on that 2-week turnaround and run well. He's obviously shown his connections enough to give them the confidence to go into the Preakness. They waited to the last minute to make that final decision. And he's just a very good horse.
Well, I think Michael McCarthy trained him as though he could be a Triple Crown winner. So he was planning to run in these races, and it'll show here in his run. I think horses, they almost always come back and run well in the subsequent start. It's hooey to suggest they can't run back in 2 weeks. People can make their decisions, but we've seen it repeatedly. They run back. I think if you want to manufacture a case against him in here, you've got to create a situation where a horse can do something that journalism doesn't do, which is why I think American Promise, who is not the second likeliest winner, he's not the third likeliest winner. But I don't want to have a horse like Clever Again or River Thames, and certainly not Sandman, horses that I just don't think are really good enough to beat him. Whereas American Promise, with that big effort 2 back and some decent efforts in prior races, you know that Wayne Lucas is sending him. He's going to do the exact same thing he did with Seize the Gray. Wayne is not afraid of speed horses, and if they're running with him, they're probably going too fast. So my case, if you want an upsetter, is American Promise. I picked him second. I think he's the right upsetter at a price, but I don't know that he could beat Journalism.
We'll get to Acacia's answer in just a moment. Meanwhile, we've reloaded. We'll show you this 5th from Horseshoe Indie and return to that conversation. Let's go to John Dooley.
Michelin coming back up to reload. Andres Calleja with and Litteram. Alberto Burgos with Temple Painter. 6-5 on Temple Painter. So from this maiden filly sprint, both the 1-0 So Fancy and 11 Fancy Is My Name, they were late scratches. Refunds on numbers 1 and 11, they're the non-runners. Late scratches both. Again, Jordan Steele going back into the gate. Mitchell Murrell won the first of the day. Pay Me Later, one more. Again, Oscar Villarreal with Quibble. So stand by. The flag is up. All in line. And they're off. Jordan Steele sharply away with Temple Painter in the white cap. Be on the Loose with an early bid. And right there between horses, Bits of Candy and Michelin. Also part of a scramble. And back out Jordan Steele, who went to the front for Mitchell Murrell for the run to the half-mile pole. Jordan Steele flanked by Bits of Candy. Then Be on the Loose and Michelin a joint third. After a sharp start, Temple Painter's back in fifth. July 4 in sixth. Katarina Partner is in seventh. And then comes Ed Litteram in eighth. Pay Me Later is a wide ninth. And Quibble trails the maiden filly sprint as they round the far turn. 3 furlongs away. 22.04 lead seconds. And here's Bits of Candy making a bid now for Orlando Mejica coming toward the quarter pole. It's Bits of Candy. Jordan Steele will have to re-rally with Michelin running in third. Temple Painter a wide fourth, and the rest are detached. They straighten away. Bits of Candy into the stretch. Half mile in 44.05 seconds. The gray leads the way. It's Bits of Candy still staring at one more furlong as Temple Painter is getting into top gear. Here's Temple Painter for Alberto Burgos. Temple Painter's closing down Bits of Candy. Temple Painter and Bits of Candy. Temple Painter to the top. It's Temple Painter pulling away to pass Bits of Candy by 3. Quibble was third and Litteram fourth, and Pay Me Later was next.
Temple Painter, favorite, and second start back is a 3-year-old. Breaks her maiden career start number 5.
I'm very bitter. I bet the 7 Bits of Candy, who ran a winning race, put away the favorite in a fast pace, but Temple Painter got the perfect trip and ran her down.
And it was a very good call by you with the 7 Bits of Candy, who ran very well, and they put some separation between them and the horses behind them. But the 9 Temple Painter did go off as the favorite, which she should have. She had run the best last out race and second off the bench.
Yep.
All right, let's get back to that Preakness conversation and pose that same question to Acacia. Who do you think has the best chance to upset journalism?
Well, I'll preface with it that I think it's journalism's race to lose. I'm not going to try to upset journalism, but for conversation, for the sake of conversation in here, looking at Clever again. Now, I know that there is going to be some other pace in this race, but this is the only other horse in here that's run a triple-digit buyer speed figure besides journalism. He has been gradually brought along, starting off as a 2-year-old going 4.5 furlongs, and it was a layoff before the time he came back. But when he came back as a 3-year-old, he was able to win going the mile and a 16th impressively, able to win the Hot Springs at the mile last time out, just dusting Gaming in there. And we've since found out that Gaming is just not up to the same level of some of the top 3-year-olds. There should be some other speed. He's quick, though, and he's a horse that's still lightly raced and coming into form, I think, at the right time.
Some of us believed in him going into that race against Gaming.
Yeah, I wasn't here that day, so I have nothing to say. I
Who
didn't
could it have been?
make a bad pick or a good pick.
We'll see. Going longer than he's ever gone before, but he's shown a lot of talent early in his career. We're going to take a timeout. We'll be back. More ahead. Prices from Horseshoe Indie on the way. It was the favorite in their 5th. We have the nightcap from New York on the way. And there's a look at the favorite. Benny the Waiter's only been on grass to this point. Stays in, despite this one coming off the turf.
At the Keeneland September yearling sale, the premier thoroughbred auction venue in the world, Mandy Pope of Whisper Hill Farm signed the ticket on the $5 million sale topper by Curlin, bred by Stone Street Thoroughbred Holdings. He was one of $5 million plus yearlings by Curlin to sell. No fewer than 55 of his yearlings fell to the auction gavel, averaging nearly $600,000, making Curlin the #1 sire of yearlings in 2024. Curlin, the classic sire.
Horse racing? Check. Weekly promotions? Got 'em. Huge payouts? You bet. With Naira Bets. Download the app today and bet on any track, anywhere, anytime with live HD horse races, betting tips and tutorials, expert picks, and more. You bet with Naira Bets. Join now for a new member bonus at NairaBets.com.
Zandon's poetry in motion. Big horse, but light on his feet. And he's always showed up and been consistent and been right there with some of the top horses in training. In the Bluegrass Stakes, he showed his determination and his raw ability.
It's over. Zandon wins the Toyota Bluegrass.
I feel breeders will be really blown away by what a striking, outstanding looking horse he is.
RaceLens is the most in-depth product in horse racing, with unique features found nowhere else. True odds, predictive analysis, and pace projection. RaceLens. It will change the way you follow horse racing and take your game to the next level.
General admission tickets are on sale now for the Belmont Stakes on June 7th at Saratoga Racecourse. Don't miss your chance to witness the historical third leg of the Triple Crown. Get your tickets today by visiting belmontstakes.com/tickets.
Back on our Thursday coverage, you're watching America's Day at the Races on Fox Sports 2. It's brought to you in part by America's Best Racing, making the sport easier to follow. Explore stories, betting tips, and race day insights at americasbestracing.net. Nightcap on this Thursday card, meant for the turf, moved to the main track. 6 furlong maiden special weight, and there's the favorite, Benny the Waiter. 3 starts so far. They've all come on grass. Todd Pletcher, Rapoli Stable.
Yeah, I mean, this is a terrible horse in this race to bet as the favorite. It's strictly a European pedigree. This horse has no speed on a track that has been kind to front runners. I understand this horse will be favored and the horse to be in the turf, but I don't get it.
Man aboard may be part of that reason.
I
yeah,
think
as
it's
we
a
were saying
lot
off air.
of the reason.
Arad Ortiz Jr. Let's go downstairs to Maggie.
Yeah, Blue Point, almost called him his sire's name. Benny the Waiter is not my type of horse. Why are you going to take a short price here on a horse who, well, has never been on the main track, but furthermore has all the pedigree in the world to be a turf sprinter? He looks like it too, and while I've never seen him before, he is that build. He's very much of his sire's line. He's broad-chested, broad hip on him, and very much of that sprinting type of frame, and furthermore just very slack pasterns, very flat foot to him. Maybe he gets a hold of this track well because it has been sealed throughout the day here, but he's just not my type of horse. Now, one that is actually offering it first time starter for Chad Brown. I'll get to him in a moment, but he's having fun down here. Is number 1, Antisocial. I love that name for not this time out of sociable. He ran a 68 Beyer, while albeit well beaten in his second start here as a 2-year-old on the dirt. If there's just a modicum of improvement, that can win this race. He doesn't even have to improve that much to win this race with that effort here for Jorge Duarte. I like this horse as a 2-year-old. He's a little bit more settled now, coming in with another 7 months under his belt. He looks fantastic here. Yes, he has to overcome a layoff, but he looks fit, he looks strong, he's dappled head to toe. I really like this horse. I would have liked him more on the turf, I will say that, because he does have a turf look, but at least he is proven to show an ability on the main track. Now, number 3 in here, Shadow Banking. He does look more turfman, I will say that. He is very broad. I mean, he is about as wide as he is tall. And with that being said, he just looks like a horse that's going to have to, A, race into experience, and he's quite naughty down here in the paddock, which is not typical for a Chad Brown firster. Craig?
Thank you, Maggie. First-time starter, 3-1, stays in here for Chad Brown and Klarovich.
I'm not going to sit here and say horses like the 3 and 9 can't win, because surely they can, but they are both overbet for all the wrong reasons in this race.
Don't get too excited. You will not get 6-1 on Antisocial.
It's a very logical horse, and I agree with everything that Maggie said.
Quando cutting back in distance, Bruce Levine.
I I know he's had a lot of chances, but he has run some very fast dirt races, including that 91 Buyer speed figure in Saratoga last summer, but even some races beyond that would make him very much the horse to beat.
Here's the first-time starter Maggie was just touching on for Chad Brown.
I'd be more inclined to like this horse on turf, the surface he was entered for. We'll see.
Speed on synthetic for Discotech.
Yeah, this is a horse who was forwardly placed last time out. He has run far better on synthetic than on dirt, though.
Toto Men, Tom Morley-Barn, John Velasquez.
Yeah, his one dirt race is not that bad, the off-the-turf race. I don't think he's impossible. A new gelding as well.
Sounds like my kids. Make me.
I stole him from Acacia.
22 to
You
1.
got excited.
I did.
Make me second-time starter. Was on very slow first time out. Got a little bit keen and then faded. We'll see if he can improve in his second start.
Bettors realize this race is off the turf, right?
This is wacky. I mean, it's the Irad Ortiz factor and his good race on turf, but he might win. But man, his pedigree says all turf.
And the main track only, here's Henry's Hope at 14 to 1.
And he is the main track only that has been running on the main track, but he has not been running the fastest races and is stepping up from $20,000 level.
7 minutes to post this finale on the Thursday card. 6 furlongs moved to the main track in this maiden special weight. And the favorite, one who's only been on grass so far for Todd Pletcher. Stay with us.
Spun to Run. His brilliant speed figures were among the fastest of any 3-year-old at a mile or more, and he hails from the legendary Danzig sire line. Now, this multiple graded stakes winner, millionaire, and Breeders' Cup champion is passing his remarkable talent along to his progeny.
Night Beacon airs at the home of Spun to Run's Breeders' Cup victory.
Spun to Run, standing at Gainesway.
Back on our Thursday coverage, you're watching America's Day at the Races, brought to you in part by Hillendale at Alapa. 3 minutes to post in this finale from here in New York. And that's a look at Toto Men. Tom Morley-Barnes, 7-1 right now, new gelding. Let's head downstairs to Maggie.
Yeah, taking a look at Toto Men here, as he does have that one dirt race at the fairgrounds in early January. Now, a horse that is also turning back in distance, which I like. Based upon his physical frame, he is a much smaller and shorter coupled type. And with several of these either making their first starts or kind of coming off some layoffs, he does look incredibly fit here. And it's not like he has a, prohibitively a turf hoof overall. So he is a little bit interesting here. John Velasquez very much giving him an aggressive warm-up out there on the racetrack, as I feel like a horse that has been, oh, nope, now I look up and he's 3-1. I thought Quando was kind of being forgotten, and I look, I get the non-appeal of Quando. He's 0-for-12. This is going to be lucky number 13. Could it be? But a horse who's also third off of a layoff and now third time out as a gelding, which I feel like ultimately it's finally kind of taken hold. He's a lot more settled, a lot more focused than what I've seen from him in the past, and he has most definitely run races fast enough on the main track to win here. Weirdly, he's never done it at 6 furlongs, so that's a little bit of a question mark, but hey, at least he has the stamina built in. Let's just hope he's not completely outpaced, but I don't think he will be. Greg, I think he's tactical enough to put himself in the game.
We will find out here shortly. At same price on Quando, who has, he's a maiden, obviously, but proven dirt form. Same price as a horse who's never been on the surface, who has pretty much all turf pedigree.
Keisha and I were talking about him off camera, but about how the fact he's never gone 6 furlongs, and you were saying, oh, he's a big horse, et cetera. But he's been 6 furlongs in turf, not on dirt. I'm not sure less distance won't help him. I know he's 0-for-9, but he's got a plethora of races that would make him very tough to beat in here.
No, I don't disagree. I'm actually very intrigued to see what he can do going shorter, because he ran once going 7 furlongs in the dirt, and he ran against a very tough field that day with Montalcino and Mazmac. I mean, he's faced very good horses on the dirt as well. And as Maggie was touching on, yes, he is 0-for-12, 0-for-9 as far as the dirt races are concerned, and you have a Todd Pletcher staying in. But to me, in these types of races, I would much rather take a horse that has shown that he can run fast races on the main track versus a complete unknown at a short price.
I think that's why all of us like the 1 and 2 in this race. Yeah. Horses that have proven they can run effectively on the dirt. And the 1 has more upside than the 2.
Right, just making his third start.
Yeah, Antisocial actually debuted in a stake at Monmouth and Smokelacken. Distant third. That day, came back, was third behind Key Waden.
His lack of speed's a problem. While I think Quando's going to be forward, I'm not sure if he has the speed to be forward. That worries me a bit with him. That, to me, is the one thing that concerns me about him. But he's 5-1, and that's an overlay, in my opinion.
And those races, as a 2-year-old, Acacia, his 3-year-old debut coming up, but we could just see him take natural progression forward.
Absolutely. I mean, he ran first time out in the Smokelacken, as you mentioned, and then going 7 furlongs in his second start as well, behind Key Waden. And to be fair, he didn't do a ton of running in that race. He was kind of past a tiring pace setter up for third. The top 2 were far ahead of the rest of that field. But that being said, it was a tall order in his first couple of races, and you have natural progression of what you expect, Andy, to see with those figures from 2 to 3, just as a baseline, not to mention any other physical and mental progressions we heard Maggie kind of touch on back in the paddock as well that we might see today.
No, I think he's a very logical horse in this race, period. I mean, to me, I'm alive in the pick 5, the 1 and 2. I hope I do well, but I don't know who else I would use. You know what I mean? I mean, I think they're the 2. I have the 2 horses I want. I'll probably lose, but I got the 2 horses I want.
Favorite remains Benny the Waiter, staying in this race despite the surface switch here. Around Ortiz Jr. for Todd Pletcher. Rapoli Stable Silks. There's that first timer. Just won it. Shadow banking. There's the favorite.
And listen, who knows? Maybe he wins, but he's a terrible gamble at 5-2.
Nightcap from Belmont at the Big A. Let's go to Chris Griffin for the call.
A few more left to load. Henry's Hope circling in behind the gate. Benny the Waiter's in, working with Discoteca. Discoteca now goes in. Henry's Hope to the outside. Henry's Hope, last to load. Goes in, all set. And they're off. Good speed from Discoteca in between horses, and right there is Benny the Waiter is on the early mix too. Here comes Henry's Hope from a far outside draw, and Henry's Hope is now passing rivals quickly, and Henry's Hope is ready to challenge for the lead. To the inside, it's Discoteca, and to the outside, it's Henry's Hope. Backing off is going to be Benny the Waiter, who's now third. At the rail is Quando, who's in fourth. 4 furlongs left to go. 3 wide is Make Me, that's the front 5. Trying to get rolling from the back is Antisocial, is traveling there with Toromen. And the trailer, Shadow Banking, 22 seconds flat for the opening quarter mile. Discoteca has got the lead. Henry's Hope is trying to keep up here from second. Quando is moving forward. Dropping back quickly there was Benny the Waiter. Lost some ground as Quando is ranging up into this race as they reach the top of the stretch. Discoteca's got the lead. Antisocial's made up a lot of ground, is at the rail, starts to roll. Quando is moving down the center of the racetrack. Shadow Banking has a lot of ground to make up. The leader is still Discoteca inside the final furlong. Shadow Banking, though, is flying. So is Antisocial. Antisocial is the first danger here, and Antisocial's taking the lead. Antisocial wins it. Discoteca clears second. Then a photo that was Shadow Banking with Quando in 1 minute 10.45 seconds.
Antisocial, 3-year-old debut, and goes off at 5-1 for the win.
And he got a very good ride by Joel because he doesn't have speed, but Joel at least kept him in hailing distance. He got a great trip after that. Quando may never win a race if he couldn't win with this trip. He's just not a winning type. Let me say something. How was the 4? The 4 was 6-1. I thought I was misreading the board. And the first of the 3 came from 100 behind.
He did, and he was very green. Here he's going to lug in. He was all over the place, closing, Shadow Banking. One to watch moving forward as he certainly is still figuring things out. Yeah, Antisocial, I got a bit nervous because he was pretty far back, but it was a smart move, I think, by Joel Rosario as well to stay on the rail as long as possible. He tipped out Andy at the very last minute with this horse, which I think was the right choice.
Well, I mean, he's the only winner today that made up as much ground as he did, right?
Yeah.
We saw a couple horses make up some ground, but for the most part, we didn't see too much. Discoteca ran very well and just got beaten. Quando, I mean, how does he didn't even make like a winning move. You know what I mean? It was Kendrick could not have given him a better ride. He just doesn't want to win.
Poor Quando.
Yeah.
1, 4, 3, 2, 5-1. Antisocial 3-year-old debut. Maiden breaking win after 2 third-place finishes. Prices when we come back.
How magnificent was Full Count Felicia. Never in doubt.
Coming down to the finish. First World War.
Fort Washington on the outside.
They're coming down to the line, and Goliad does it.
Warfront, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Archangelo, the Belmont winner in charge. The Grade 1 Whitney to Arthur's ride.
And a Dare Manor will take the Clementel Hirsch. Olympiad gets the gold. It is Timberlake who's going to win.
Tap it twice! Tap it twice!
Sierra Leone in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Who's the best? Who's top horse?
Football gods, the most valuable trophy in American sports.
The dream lives within all of us. When fueled by passion, patience, and perseverance, a spark of greatness. Come, dream with us at Three Chimneys.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Back in our Thursday coverage, on Fox Sports 2 out at Horseshoe, Indianapolis. Meant for the turf. They're off the turf today, so mile main track in this allowance optional claiming field as we get a look here at Just Be Quiet.
Sorry. I like Just Be Quiet, and the public is kind of caught on to him. He's a big price in some multi. I think this horse is the right horse in the dirt.
Always wanting.
A horse that lately has been on turf and synthetic, running better races there, but has been showing speed.
I hear Train a-coming. 32-1 went by.
I don't. But
Just Ruthless getting Lasix.
I think this is the price horse that's usable in here. The dirt races aren't that bad, and she might have improved a little.
3-1 louder than words.
Stretching out in distance, if you kind of sift through, this horse has actually run okay in state
Shouldn't she be favored in here?
Absolutely, yeah.
8, who just left your screen, 8-5 favorite, Jay Rivers.
This horse I don't understand as the favorite. I think they're betting off of the turf and synthetic numbers more.
And El Count main track only gets in.
Yeah, horse that won last time out on the main track is an MTO, but I think there's a couple in the body of the race that are more intriguing.
Let's go to Rachel.
Hi, guys. Yeah, we have a wonderful field here. I'm a little concerned as well about the bettors on Jay Rivers. The 10 El Cone, though, is the one that I'm looking at. Notoriously, in the past, Hawthorne shippers have been doing really well here. It's a little early to tell if that's going to be the case again, but this one put up some nice speed last time in that win at the distance. But it's got late run, so if you question that, because our track really has been favoring speed horses, I went with a long shot, and that is the 2 here in this race. And I was sitting with Michelle Elliott and her husband at the table over here, and they said, you know what, Rachel, honestly, the way that this track has been playing with speed, when you get to the front, they're going to play it as a catch me if you can. Fernando's confident today, he said, and he's just going to send for the lead.
Rachel, thank you. Yeah, so let's get back to the favorite here. So Jay Rivers, 1 dirt start. It was the debut. It was raced 6 times since. 42 buyer. First time out, and a distant second place finish, the 6-5 favorite.
The problem is this horse, she didn't improve later in her career. She improved immediately when she went to a new surface. Now, listen, I'm not going to say this horse can't win, but this is the reason we like betting on off-the-turf races, because a horse like this is being bet for the wrong reason, much like the 9 in the 8th race today here at Aqueduct.
That's exactly what I was going to say. This is Benny the Waiter all over again. It's an easy trap to fall into.
Back to Belmont of the Big A. We'll wrap up this finale. And Joel Rosario on Antisocial, successful 3-year-old debut.
Joel's been in very good form recently as well. 3 stakes wins here on Saturday. Gave an excellent ride to Antisocial here for a $12.40 winner.
I know that you are in the Joel Rosario fan club along with me, and I understand why he can be frustrating. But when he's riding well, he's as good as any rider in the game, and I think this race showed it. That was a terrific ride he gave this horse.
Congrats to those who hit the Big 5. $485?
Something like that. Somebody up here mocked me for playing. I believe you said to me, you played the Big 5?
Dinner's on Andy.
Dinner's always on me. I'm always happy to pay, as you well know.
And the biggest price was Antisocial.
Do I owe you a dinner, Greg? I feel like
you do.
I owe you
Actually,
a dinner.
You do.
Yeah. What did we bet on? I don't remember what it was.
I'll think
you
of
won
it.
easily.
Back to Horseshoe Indie for this race taken off the turf. So, yeah, maybe the case of, well, it is the case of a favorite being way over bet.
I bet the 1. I like the 1
I
here.
thought the 6, Louder Than Words, was the one that I agree with Andy should be the favorite in here, is stakes form on the dirt.
John Dooley with the call. Here's the 6 from Horseshoe Indie.
Jay Rivers, Joe Ramos has a win on the card at 1 mile 70 yards. One more, Orlando Mexico with El Cown. Runs as a main track only for Shadwell Stable and Andrew McKeever. Fast track, they're in the game. And they're off. I hear Trainer coming. Broke sharp. Always Wanting toward the inside. Now going out toward the front for Fernando de la Cruz. Always Wanting has taken the lead into the first turn from sharp starting I Hear Trainer Coming. Louder Than Words in the 3 path. And on the outside is Jay Rivers, who's covering a lot of ground as they round the first turn. Always Wanting took the early lead. So they go to the back of the track. Always Wanting in front of I Hear Trainer Coming at the 6.5. Nearest the inside is Just Be Quiet, is joined by on the outside Louder Than Words and Just Ruthless in tight quarters there between horses. The white cap of Just Ruthless. Then comes the great El Count, and Jay Rivers has drifted back toward last. 24.09 lead seconds for Always Wanting. So Always Wanting dictates the field at 7-1, flanked by I Hear Train A-Comin'. Then toward the inside, Just Be Quiet vying for third with Louder Than Words on the outside. They're a joint third now with 4 furlongs to go. And then Just Ruthless remains in tight quarters. Jay Rivers up 1 spot. El Count trails. It's 8 lengths from tip to tail. Always Wanting, still the front runner. Clocked a half mile in 48.08 seconds. Steady as she goes. Always Wanting toward the quarter pole from I Hear Train A-Comin'. Louder Than Words is gearing up now for Marcelino Pedrosa Jr. Then comes Jay River with Just Ruthless to the inside. Just Be Quiet, checkbook of heels, and El Count. As these fillies mares straighten away, Louder Than Words with a sweep. 3/4, 1 minute 11.79 seconds. Louder Than Words has taken charge. 1 furlong to go. I Hear Train A-Comin'. Always Wanting led, but folds up. Then on the outside, Just Ruthless with Jay Rivers and El Count toward the inside. They're coming past the 16th with Marcelino Pedrosa Jr. Louder Than Words kept to the task. Louder Than Words wins by 2. I Hear Train A-Comin' holds second from Just Ruthless. Jay Rivers 4th, and El Count finish 5th.
Louder Than Words with the win and an opportunity, to beat a favorite who should not have been the favorite.
No, the winner should have been the favorite in this race. My 1 is still running, but the 6 should have been favored.
Couple of turf horses, moving surfaces here that I guess the public forgot.
Yeah, but Andy hit the pick 5 in New York today, so it's all good.
So I won't be my normal miserable self for a couple of minutes.
Just a couple
We'll get him back to normal tomorrow.
Don't worry. By the time I get to the train, be all forgotten.
No show for us tomorrow. We're back on Saturday. Split show, 12:30 to 1:30, and then 4 to 5 in part 3 of our coverage. Acacia with some harness racing.
8 to 11 p.m.
You are the queen of the harness coverage. You love staying up till 11.
We'll see you on Saturday. Of course, Middle Jewel, Triple Crown coming up. Can the Derby runner-up get a little revenge? Journalism, horse to beat. Sandman, Arkansas Derby winner. Can he bounce back after a dud on Derby Day? Clever again. One of the hot new faces here. He's impressive in the hot springs. Goal-oriented, undefeated for Bob Baffert, but a big test on Saturday as we get set for the Preakness. We'll see you this weekend.